Well, ladies and gentlemen, next is going to be another set of important panel discussion, and we have the moderator. Before that, we're going to have a discussion on head-end system for advanced metering infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the moderator, Mr. Vikas, Kshyap, Director, Lead Venture UK, Mr. Rene, Boeringer, CEO, CUCULUS, Mr. Swapnadeep, Banerjee, Trilliant, Mr. Anand, Srivastava, GM Marketing, Landisgyr, Mr. Anil, Kumar, Kadam, Director, ExoStruxure and Cybersecurity, Schneider Electric, Shri Amit, Dharma, Nodal Officer, Kanpur Electricity Supply Company, Shri Yogesh, Kumar, Nodal Officer, Smart Meter, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited, Shri Anil Kumar Sharma, Dakshin, Haryana, Biji Vitran Nigam Limited. Very warm welcome to everybody. And now I would like to hand over to the moderator, Mr. Vikas Kshyap, to please begin the session.
Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, whichever part of the world you are in. And a very warm welcome to all the panelists, and really look forward to this interaction with you and the audience. While we have kind of just started the journey in India on decent sized projects on AMI, we have been building to it for the last 7 or 8 years. And it is this experience which tends to guide the future road to what and how we deploy. And that is perhaps a good time here now to use and understand the experience of the important players in this field to see, do we need course correction? Are there other areas that we have to look into, and so on? I'm also conscious that we are running slightly behind schedule, so I will let this, in the format of this session start. What we are trying to do here is the panelists will give their opening remarks on the 3 themes that we have been set for this session, which are essentially around the head-end system, interoperability, the robustness and scalability issues, and the security mechanisms. So can I request Swapnadeep, if you want to start with your presentation, and once we've finished the 4 presentations, then we can take on the questions from the audience as they come up.
Hi, thanks, Vikas. Do you want me to start?
Yes, please, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, it's no worries.
Okay, excellent.
Thank you. So yeah, good morning and good afternoon to wherever you are, guys. I mean, from whichever part of the world. So essentially, we are talking about the things that in this discussion is the interoperability of the HES, the robustness and the scalability of the HES to accommodate the present as well as the future requirements. And we look at the security mechanisms which are in place with HES. So let us start with interoperability. So interoperability in HES would be northbound and southbound both. So if you look at the northbound, we have the NDM with which the HES integrates. And there are widely, extensively used open APIs which are there, open standard APIs which are there, which can be used to have this interoperability between any MDM and any HES. Trilliant provides an extensible framework of the customize and which of APIs which are customizable through the service-oriented architecture using a full enterprise service bus. And we are planning to use, and we have been using it with the interface specification CIM IEC 61968-9. This is for the offline files that are being exchanged between MDM and the HES. And we have for the asynchronous messages, that means that we have that are coming from the meter to the HES and then goes on to the MDM. We use the JMS bus architecture. So this is essentially the northbound interoperability. The southbound interoperability, which is essentially the HES and the meters, we have the DLMS COSEM library, which we extensively use. And on the top of that, we have the IS 159159 standards. We in Trilliant, we call it the IS 15959 drivers. So this actually gives you the base model, and HES adheres to this particular standard. The different meter makes should adhere to this standard as well, so that there is a very easy flow of communication between the meters and HES. And we also have a program of integration, like how do we do the program of integration of any smart meters in our HES. We have the integration, we have the pre-production, and then the deployment, and then we deploy it on the field. That is essentially the southbound, if I say so. Coming to the robustness and scalability of the HES solution, what we have seen, the practice, we have deployed 1.5 million meters unit in India, and we use this particular way of deploying the product in a CI/CD manner. So the piece of software which actually comes out from our R&D labs is always being, they are tested against, or they are being robustly tested against the stress testing and the performance testing. We essentially use something called as an in-house built simulator, IS 15959 meter simulators. So we use this for our stress testing and scalability, performance testing. So over here, we have, we try to outdo ourselves. We try to go to 10 million and more. The stress testing or the performance testing is what our aim is, and we actually do it. And we also recommend a part of a journey that the production bed, or where the meters are there, it should be there should be a pre-production bed on which we can do any sort of any sort of testing can be done on the live meters, and these are essentially, this enables the software to be tested against the harsh environments. Scalability wise, Trilliant solution is it is vertically, it is horizontally scalable, and we are ready to take in as the meters come into ours. In our project, we are ready to take in any number of meters. That is how we are there. For the future plans, we are discussing something in the lines of AI, ML, and as well as data shredding. But we are being conscious, we are being continuously conscious that this should not create a bottleneck in our solution, and that is how we try to build our solution for the future challenges that we may face in India. Coming to the security mechanisms, we have been testing our softwares by industry standards like AppScan tool, Burp Suite, and we have been doing these tests. And also a case in point is, let's say, the Log4j vulnerability, which was very recently, which was observed in the market, and the turnaround time that Trilliant took was like a few weeks when Apache released the new, the bug-free jar. Whenever they have actually been given us, we just took 2 weeks to take it from that point to deploying in the production. We took it just 2 weeks. So that is how we are conscious about the security mechanism. We essentially we recommend and we try to take part in scheduled BAPT tests on the environment, and we highly recommend about it. And last but not least is the man who is interacting with the machine. We are very focused, and this cannot be separated out. The man has to be with the machine. So we recommend well-defined SOPs. We define, and which have to be done revision, which has to go through multiple revisions, these SOPs. And we need to actually have the correct man at doing the correct job. That is what we say about security mechanism. Thank you. Vikas, to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Swapnadeep. Can I request Rene now, please, if you can share your thoughts on these subjects? Sorry, Rene, you are on mute.
Okay, now I'm back. Sorry, it's too many windows open with the sharing and so on. What I said, I tried to keep it short, but you have to stand with some slides again. Try to support what I want to say. So in the sessions before, we have seen already the platform we are providing, our Sonos IoT platform, and this time I would like to highlight a bit more the HAS functionality. It's like a how to say, like a building, like building blocks for the overall solution. I will jump over the use cases. Of course, this head-end system for us actually in the past was only interpreted as a system which is dealing with the meters. But for us, it is actually more. So there are meters behind the meters in the sub-metering case. There are also other sensors and actors which need to be connected and controlled through a head-end solution. And last but not least, also the whole communication infrastructure should be present in a head-end system. Not a full network management system, but at least everything what you need to optimize your process and your operations along the whole chain of a smart metering setup. So what we think is essential for the head-end system is that it can deal with all different types of utilities, so electricity, water, gas, cooling, heating, and other sensors out there. So that is essential. And we have implemented this kind of connectors into the, we also call that connectors, into the head-end systems for various different protocols. Of course, in India, there's a IS 5959, but it's only for electricity. And we have so many things more we have to gather. We cannot just take out some big industrial meters, which cannot just be changed. It's impossible to change the protocol stack for that meters, but anyhow, they need to be integrated in the solution. So next to the standards, of course, they are supported in the solution. There need to be a totally different other standards as well, or other protocols as well to support all the use cases. And that we do at the moment with more than 200 different types of smart meters and sensors in the solution right away out of the box. So that means native support of all that different meter manufacturers and their types of meters and protocols you can use in our head-end system. But you are also able to connect other head-end systems to the head-end system. So this is also required to, for example, deal with existing pilots, which cannot be changed, with very old legacy systems, which are there, but you don't want to miss them out in a transition phase. So also there you need to be flexible enough to connect to other pieces of software. It's a kind of a system-to-system connection to deal with setups, very complex setups you might face in reality. Of course, every smart metering project starts just with maybe one or two or three meter vendors. They all follow a standard. It's all tested. It's all good. But you always have exceptions, and these exceptions will cost you the money later on in the long run in the project. And that is actually what we think should also be covered in the solution. On the security side, we have a specific module. We call that Full Protect. So a module is also always something you can use, or you don't need to use it. So we are running projects which have, I would say, the highest security in the world, but this cannot be afforded by everyone in the world. So you are free to adapt the security to actually your needs, but also your capabilities in terms of the investments you can do. So we are using, for example, here solutions which are coming out of the financial industry, where every single message is protected and ensured and encrypted by hardware modules. So this is the stuff what you see in James Bond movies. When they try to drill in, it explodes. So these kind of things we are employing in the head-end solution, but as I said, it's not for everybody. And at the end, we have already heard it from Swapnadeep, so that is much more than just the connection between the smart meter and the head-end system. So the whole head-end system, the processes around it, the whole organization which is producing it, but also which is using it, needs to be part of that security concept. And we have actually undergone an ISO 27001 security certification for the whole company, which is actually a special European standard for security in critical infrastructures. And we are not operating the solutions, but we still did it to be able to understand what a utility has to do to really secure their operations. And finally, of course, because of the fact that we are not only talking meters, we are also talking about other things. The scalability is a key issue. And here, actually, it is about the question how you can deal with this mass amount of data with the increasing number of applications which try to get something. It's not only MDM, there are also many more which should actually get the data of the HAS system. I remember MDM is more user-specific data, but the HAS has also some other data like power quality values, like network information which need to be shared. So how you do that, how you can deal with this huge amount of data, at the same point in time accessing it with plenty of different applications, so that these applications are not slowing down each other while operating on the set of data. So there needs to be a new architecture for a core of a head-end system to be scalable, independent from the number of applications using the data. Yeah, that's from my side. We're very much thrilled to be here and to see and to analyze and to share our knowledge in our projects we have worldwide with the participants here, specifically for the Indian market.
Thank you very much, Rene. Can I now request Anil Kadam from Schneider to share his experiences and insights and views on these subjects? Over to you, Anil.
Thank you very much. Smart metering, meter to cash is just the tip of the iceberg. We feel that there's much more possibility of the data coming out of smart meter. So the systems, be it HES or the MDM, will have to be interacting with multifold systems to really create use cases which is possible, which was not thinkable before. Example, in Schneider, we look at it as a complete grid architecture, and we have developed use cases within our HES and of course MDM to see how it can interact with an ADMS and how can that happen seamlessly from the operations point of view. How can the smart metering data go beyond meter to cash? We have integrated that with microgrid systems, so that how can we do more distributed energy resource management? How can this connect to behind the meter applications? So our lookout is how can this system be more flexible to do beyond just metering applications. That means it can get into the real smart grid journey of the utility. And with the advances and the more agility in the governments, going further, we may bring in other commodities also onto the same system. So I fully agree what Rene says. It has to be an IoT platform. It should be agnostic, and it should be able to connect multi-commodity data, just not energy, just not electricity. It should be for water, gas, and any other forms of energy which comes up. So at least there is utilization beyond electricity. Another very important point is on the scalability point. The platform should be on such a technology that it can test itself on millions of meters. Or we have tested on millions of meters globally, but the real learning comes when the rubber hits the road. When this platform starts handling more than 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million meters, and so on and so forth, we learned many things and started adapting. So the system is as robust as it has been tested in a real-time scenario. So that's what I say. So a platform provenness is very important as far as the scale-up is concerned. Plus, agnosticism of the scale of the platform is too important, whether it is northbound or southbound integration. It should be able to accommodate any kind of technologies, Prime, OSGP, DLMS, G3, and whatnot. And any kind of communication interface agnosticism. That means it should manage PLC, RF mesh, point-to-point. That means the same head-end should be able to manage all sorts of protocols and all sorts of communication interfaces. And at the same time, it should be agnostic to any database. You know, it can be Oracle, it can be MS SQL, it can be Vertica, it can be Hadoop, and whatnot. And very, very important is when we get the smart meter data beyond meter to cache, we get into a possibility of mapping the low voltage part of the network where a lot of optimization has to be done in the operations part. Today in ADMS or any SCADA for that matter in distribution, you see medium voltage very well mapped. The high voltage is of course mapped. The weakest link in the entire system is the low voltage. Do I know what is the real-time dynamic network topology of my LT? Because there are so many people working in the low voltage and changing the topology. You know, so beyond doing real-time audit, can I bring in this dynamic network mapping through my smart meter data into my other utility operations, which is very, very essential in the new world of energy. How will I control those distributed dynamic storage, distributed dynamic electric vehicles, you know, behind the meter assets? So how do I manage it? So I would consider smart metering, especially the HES platform, as that one gateway which will help you enable many, many use cases in the new world of energy. And then, of course, coming to the cyber security part of it, of course, the platform has to be developed with secure development lifecycle, but I would advocate a defense in depth approach of the architecture. So I am also the vice chair for the smart grid division and in AIMA. So in day in and day out, we deliberate to see how do we really bring in defense in depth architectures in the large scale AMI deploys we are talking about. And with the RDSS kind of an ambition, we are going to be multifold in the country. So I think the whole industry has to come together to define the real architecture, which can be very, very robust. Nobody from a single point, either from the southbound or the northbound or any of the interface, should be able to hack. If the system is hacked, we have the risk of, you know, huge productivity loss and distress to the community. And Ukraine is the best example for it. So I think so cyber security has to be dealt. And while cyber security like 62443 or 62351 has been spoken very much in the OT part, the SCADAs or the EMS or the DMS, we have much more discussions and standardization to be brought in the cyber security for AMI bus. So I stop here.
Thank you so much, Anil, for your comments. And I will now request Anand Srivastava from Landisgyr to share his experiences.
Hi, Vikas. Anand I have been replaced by Anand. So, Vikas, nice to see you after so much time.
I know.
And being a late, speaker has a lot of advantage and disadvantage. Advantage is that I don't have to explain everything has been explained. So I'll touch upon, critical things like security, robustness, and scalability. So yes, when you spoke about robustness, the main idea is to keep the HES simple. Let's not overload the HES system as it is. It should be kept as a very efficient, scalable data engine with secured end-to-end solution. That should be the message for the HES to be implemented. So when we go about it, the interoperability should be there and the northbound and southbound, as we have said. We should be open to more devices, more type of protocols which are there on both sides. But then when having said that, we had to have certain mechanism where this HES should coexist with the other HES also. So what most of the utility says that they try to load the new HES with what you say is that taking the role of the old HES systems also. Here the conflicts comes in because these HES systems are efficient system in their own ways and they have the all open architecture there. So how do we do it? Let's leave that legacy separately. Let's deal it separately. It may be that the legacy systems gives the data to a data lake and then MDM or the other systems push the data. We have all inter exchanges taking place in a different way. Let's not burden that new upcoming HES for these functionalities. And about scalability, yes, when people are talking about scalability being tested, we have deployed 29 million meters, more than that one in TEPCO. There's the largest scalable deployment on field running. As I say to you, it's growing, and it is open to all the technologies. It is PLC, yes, it is there. It's cellular, it is there. RF mesh, it's there. So, and then it is talking to various other utility systems also. And coming to the security system, yes, there are various means to address this, and we have faced in our own country. How does it happens that accidentally or anyway or whatever the reason, a mass disconnection takes place? It can take place in various regions. It can be by mistake. It can be insider sabotage. So the entire system should be such that it should have each level, the communication level, the application level, and the user interface level, the mechanism and algorithm to detect automatically that something is going unusual, and it should stop that system. We had that mechanism in our offered solutions, which can detect on real time what is happening and take the corrective actions. And these are backed up by the financial grade and the, I will say, military grade of security, because these are all cash registers. They are financial assets to the utility, and this needs a real thought process that all the communication which is happening from devices up to the application should be encrypted. So how do we do it is that it's best to have a third-party security solution implemented, preferably based on the hardware-based solution like HSM, hardware security modules. So these are the things which we can have it, and most importantly, the application which has to be developed should be cloud native. It cannot be a monolithic application which is deployed on the cloud. When I say this, it should be a CI/CD pipeline which has a continuous improvement. We don't need to wait for releases. Whenever we have some need for a functionality, it should get into a pipeline. It should get it out in a very less time for the utility to use it. So that's what I can add to the experts right now.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, for your insights. We also have a lot of experience from utilities, especially UP and Haryana, which were the first ones to roll out smart meters in huge numbers in India. And just before we get to you, sirs, can I just summarize some of the key points which have been brought up by the technology and the OEM companies here, which are very significant and are important considerations that we should be including in our considerations for decision making when we are selecting technology partners and ecosystems. So on the three subjects on interoperability, clearly this is a government-driven program for electricity smart metering across India. But as we have seen, not only in the other parts of the world, but also we are seeing early signs of this in India, that multiple devices, multiple utilities are now wanting to come together, whether it is to use infrastructure, whether it is to use common services, and therefore to leverage that to be able to cater to not just data collection, but provide services to customers. And therefore this southbound integration, while it being a very big pain for all the technologists and the delivery people, is something that we have to take head on. See, on one side, we have multiple devices coming in.
Oh, 4 o'clock great presentation, bro.
Sorry. On one side, we have a large number of new devices coming in, not just the gas, water, but also things like electric vehicles, distributed generation, and so on. In the smart grid arena, I'm not even talking smart city space. But each of these tend to have some amount of standardization behind them on the protocols. But as implementers, we all understand that within the protocols and the standards, there are variations that different manufacturers of devices want to leverage. And they all argue that if these variations were not there, it curbs their innovation that they can produce. But equally, there is the other side of the story where many of us would love to have common data models and say, okay, bring your device and it's a plug and play. But we've got to balance these two elements of demands of the system that we're trying to build it. The other thing, very rightly, one of the panelists raised was that today, no matter where you roll out the AMI, there is no way we can cater to all the requirements using, let's say, a single communication media. We will have to design systems and have to cater to multiple communication techniques, whether it be cellular, RF, PLC, and so on. And therefore, these headends should not just be able to cater to devices, protocols, and the communication media, but it should also be able to cater to the variations between the HESs in terms of the data that they push northbound. And therefore, many projects have seen when multiple headends need to be integrated to a common headend, it makes much more practical sense to introduce a middleware to bring these common data models so that the integration to MDM becomes much easier and simplified in that sense. The second issue is about the robustness and the scalability. One of the myths that clearly is broken here is when we used to talk about systems, we used to refer to number of devices. Now we clearly have to look at not just the number of devices, the frequency of data pulling, and also the amount of data you want to pull each time. So the data volume and velocity is actually going to define how robust or scalable is the headend system. And also the infrastructure, the hardware and the cloud that we need to deploy these into. Coming to the issue on security, we obviously are very conscious that globally cyber attacks on AMI systems have been growing. And also the so-called air gap between IT OT systems is now getting blurred. We are now seeing more and more sophisticated cyber attacks. And besides this, there is also the additional component of either internal sabotage or internally, inadvertently, the operators making mistakes. And therefore, whatever security we built in, the checks and balances have to be able to cater to these. And this is a moving target. We all know it. And therefore, the more robust we try and make the firewalls we create around our processes and the microservices within the modules of the headend, and also when the data is traveling from headend to multiple applications, it will only make our systems more robust, and utilities will have that confidence to deploy these. I hope I have been able to summarize all the major comments from the technology side. Now, can I request, firstly, Mr. Yogesh Kumar from UPPCL to share with us his experiences on the systems that have been deployed in Uttar Pradesh.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Kshyap. In Uttar Pradesh, we have installed 11.50 lakhs smart meters till now. And presently, these meters are working perfectly with stability, as giving the billing of 99.73% every month. So presently the system is stable, but during the tenure of the installation and implementation, there was multiple issues that we have faced in the system. The one issue that we have challenged that the number of that every person, every vendor has told in earlier that he has the IS, matlab, security international standard, he had the scalability, he has the perfection, he has the 100% perfection of the system. But when we are using the some system in field, then we have find that the multiple scenarios that are not covered in the software development part at the software development. So we have to tackle that scenarios and plug in that scenarios in day-to-day experiences. As and when we got some experiences, we have to plug in that scenarios in system perfection. That any software is not perfect. Every software having some bugs or some scenario that has been not plugged in or maybe find in later on. So we have to plug in all the scenarios, all the issues as and when we find the notice of the that scenario. Secondly, one thing is also the ownership. Ownership means if one vendor is there, HCS vendor, one is meter vendor, one is MDM vendor. So when we talk, one is the middleware communication. When the HCS MDM is that in future in UP also, HCS vendor, MDM vendor will be on different clouds. Then if both vendors are same cloud, then also when there is any issues coming in system, either read transfer or billing system or multiple system, then every vendor has telling that yes, my system perfect. This is issue from the second vendor. Software is happy. So every vendor is telling this type of the sentences. So at that in these cases, we have faced the challenges. A very simple scenario that I am telling that our data, we have taking data from HCS to MDM to billing system. At the billing system and MDM and HCS, when if disconnection command is initiated from the billing system, then 100 only 30-40% was success rate at the initial stage. Then we have talked to different vendors, either HCS, MDM or billing system. Every person is telling that our system perfect and all the data is passing through our system. Then ultimately I take a meeting conference with all the vendors and applied the very root method. Root method means I have passed the all firewalls, all balancers, and then tried to transfer the data. And data flow was 100%. Ultimately, issue was traced at the load balancer, and that load balancer is working at different place was perfectly, but at that place that was not working perfectly. Means the customization of load balancer having some type of issues that we have not able to track that issue. So this type of issues are coming in our project and will be coming in near future also, because this is human psychology. Everyone are trying to reflect our responsibility to second person. So we have to take the ownership of the system, ownership of the issues, because if any issues is there, then either this is from the MDM side, meter side, HCS side, every vendor had to serious about that issue. Maybe that issue from the any vendor, So we have to, every vendor have to tackle every issue and take experiences of that issue and improve their system for future development. So this is the major issue. Next issue is the experiences of this type of the systems. That in UP we have installed the large number of smart meters with the integration with HCS, MDM, and RMS, and the experience of the the person deployed in India from the different vendors, not having such type of exposure of the field exposure or the different type of issues that are day-to-day issues. So the person must be sensitive to take care of the issues and take care issues and take from issues. He must be analyzed. Every vendor must be analyzed, and after analyzing, he must be plugged in. That in our case, we have even if one person is not billed at any month, we are taking care of the every month billing, and taking care of the every month billing up to that level that even one consumer is not left over. So presently, before 2 months, early 2 months, no consumer is in our system that is not billed for more than two months. So we are taking every consumer that is not billed and tracking the issues, why this consumer is not billed, and plugging that issues in the system, so that the next time this type of issue is not come in the system, and our system is going to perfection and minimum problem issue. Earlier, before 1 year ago, there was a multiple issues. Multiple issues that we have installed the meter and bill was not generated for maximum 2 years. Bill was not generated from the first installation of the meter. We have tackled all the issues, and but ritual with the support of the all vendors. Vendors are doing very well with our system. We are telling that this is the issue, and they are plugging the issue. Maybe some later time, maybe take some more time. We are telling that plug the issue in 1 month or 15 days. We are telling that no sir, this is will be plugged in 1 month, maybe plugged in the 2 months, but ultimately problem is resolved. So this is the all vendors have to take care of any issue, maybe of the other vendors. He must take care and improve their system, so that this is the beneficial of the vendors and robustness of the system also. This is my experiences about the UP major experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yogesh Kumar. Clearly, you as the user of the data coming out of the HES have gone through all the hardship of solving a number of problems, deployment issues, and possibly now many of those issues are settling down, and you are now more comfortable with the way things are. But clearly there are areas where your recommendations should be taken more seriously, and probably others can take it at the design stage itself. So can I now move on and request Mr. Anil Sharma from Haryana Bidli Vitran Nigam to share his experiences of using the AMI systems deployed there. Mr. Sharma, please. Anilji, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all. Thank you, Vikas. Yeah. So first of all, I would congratulate you to summarizing the entire technical session of this today's event, and it was nicely summarized and articulated. So a lot of congratulations to you, Vikas, on this matter. So just to start with, I will start with a very lighter note, and who all people understand Hindi. I must say it in Hindi that it's smart metering. It is like a शादी का लड्डू, जो खाए वो भी पछता है और जो ना खाए वो भी पछता है. So am I right, Vikas?
Absolutely, absolutely. And people who don't understand Hindi, Rene, for you, I guess, this is like a marriage.
So
you will not live to enjoy it either ways, whether you do it or you don't do it.
Yeah. So it was on a very lighter. It was on a very lighter note. I would request people not to take it otherwise. So we have been listening and we have been talking about smart metering. I think it was more than a decade away. Whether I was on that time I was on the other side of the table. Now I am on this side of the table. So it hardly matters. So we have been talking about smart metering since long, and especially in Indian context, I would say that the typical electrical business activities in India is far from activities of electricity business either in Europe or US or in any other overseas market. So first of all, whatever success story about smart metering that has been come out in the other part of the globe, so India is yet to gain or yet to attain that kind of situation. And it's heads off to the present RDSS initiative, which Government of India has launched recently. So it clearly indicates that now there will be a headway whereby India would be among the top countries to implement smart metering solutions in a big way. And those targets are very ambitious, and those targets are very challenging for each utility to achieve those targets. And once we will be able to achieve those targets, then it will be changing the entire business proposition and scenario of the Indian power sector, and which in turn will position the Indian power sector among the top utilities all across the globe. So these are few things. There are certain few things about the smart metering which I should highlight during this event as far as the perspective of Haryana utilities are concerned. And I'm sure my colleague from Uttar Pradesh will also agree on it. So because we are sailing the same boat. In fact, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, they collaborated first of all with ESL to kickstart this smart metering project in a big way, and which was, I think, the flagship program launched by the ministry through ESL also. So under that program, Haryana is implementing 1 million smart meters. So out of these 1 million smart metering solutions, we have only achieved as yet a target of 3 lakh smart meters. And for these 3 lakh smart meters, the things have been integrated as per the, you can say, targeted schedule. And through these, we have been able to monetize the real benefits of these smart meters. So as far as the benefits are concerned, of course, we have been able to achieve only to the extent of the automation of the meter reading. So because since we do not have any SCADA in place, so there is no AMI feature which have been enabled for these smart metering solutions. So towards that, we will have to go for a long way. So we are only in a position to capture automatic meter readings. And to that extent, I would say that the billing and metering irregularities have been eliminated because there is no manual intervention, and automatic reading is being coming through these smart metering solutions, and we have been able to generate correct bill to the entire satisfaction of my consumers. So as Vikas, you told, and while you are summarizing the entire technology session, you put a lot of emphasis on common data format, unified head-end system, creating middleware for the unified head-end system, and interoperability, scalability part of it. So these are, I think, these are the issues which have been debated academically more on various platforms. But personally, my opinion is that on these fronts, we have not been able to demonstrate as a test case which generate confidence among the utilities that all these aspects have been answered very well by the industry, and these are not going to pose any problem for the utilities who are very daredevil kind of things to implement these smart metering solutions. Because of all these issues being faced under the project being implemented by ESL, I think recently ministry has also taken a very good instance to create some kind of architecture whereby the vendors, they will have to first prove the interoperability in true sense, scalability of the head-end system in true sense, and apart from that, how the plug and play of the smart metering would be achieved by way of all these kind of activities. So these are the few things which really need to answer and which really need to be solved, so that the massive investment which government is envisaging towards the implementation of these smart metering solutions would not go into drain. Because whatever projects have been implemented by utilities prior to this RDSS scheme, these are only few pilot projects. We have been listening about the 14 pilot project. A lot of journey has been done on these 14 pilot project. But ultimately, what has happened with these pilot projects? I think nowhere there is ever any of the case story, any of the success story written on wall about these 14 pilot projects. Am I right?
I completely agree with you, Anand. The issue here is large-scale smart meter rollouts in most countries, wherever this has happened, have had many projects which over a period of time are like lost cases, just abandoned projects. And
Absolutely.
you go through those graveyards to actually reach where you want to and the type of technology you want to deploy. And I don't necessarily see this as a negative. But yes, looking back, you'll say, well, it's taken us almost 8-9 years to reach this point. Let's now, gather momentum, go on faster. Let's just forget those 8-10 projects, learn from them, shut them down, move on from there.
It is not like that, Kshyap ji. I totally differ with your viewpoint, because ultimately we are playing with the public money, and for this public money, we as a government employee, we are answerable, because we are spending this public money and we are answerable for this, right? So
Correct,
whatever journey has been done in last 8-10 years to develop this concept of smart metering and to adopt the technology in power utilities, I fully salute this kind of courage which has been shown. And of course, personally, I am in support of these kind of initiatives. But ultimately, from the past journey, we should create a learning curve. And out of that learning curve, we should devise a mechanism, identify the gray areas, identified all the risk areas, and we should work on the areas how to mitigate the risk which is involved into this massive, you can say, project, right? Ultimately, if these projects get derailed, it is the utility who is earning out of the entire metering, billing and collection. The whole process will be sabotaged, and we will left with nowhere, and it will pose a great challenge before us. Because from this point of time, I don't foresee that there will be a turning back, a rolling back of the system. Ultimately, we will have to move ahead. So if we will have to move ahead, then we need to follow a very cautious approach in terms of implementation of this smart metering solution. So that is the whole idea. So I am not putting it in a perspective that there is no success story of all the pilot projects. I know the entire story of the pilot project, and always from the looking back and from seeing the negative side of all these things, I know that we can't just pave the way forward for the next level of technology. So we have to move ahead. There is no doubt about it. So ultimately, the goal is that whatever has been articulated, whatever has been envisaged, the result should come out in a time-bound manner and in true sense. So that is the whole objective. And towards this objective, personally, my opinion is that yes, of course, for smart metering per se, we will have to address the issue of interoperability. because this interoperability, when the BIS standard for the smart metering was being conceived in India, I was the member of that committee chaired by CEA. So a lot of deliberations has happened during that time also. Although the interoperability part of it, the entire specifications for achieving interoperability between meter to DCU to the head-end system and vice versa, it has been well drafted in that document. But when it comes in terms of the practical implementation of all these things, going by that Bible before us, what we are seeing is that it is getting next to impossible. So my putting this emphasis on this point is before all the industry leaders and all the technology partners is that the solution for smart metering, first of all, should be very simplistic for the utility people. It should not be a very cumbersome thing, because you very well know that utility people have the challenge of building up of the capacity. Capacity building will take time. The change management will take time. So initially, if we'll create a system which is very cumbersome enough, so definitely people would resist to digest the things. So elementary thing is that we should develop a system which should be very easy to understand, very easy to operate and maintain, and then gradually we should scale up the things, and then we will move on to the next level. So just by these points, I would like to close my point of view as far as the head-end system or any implementation of any AMI or smart metering is concerned. I think I have raised my issues very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anilji, you have summarized this very practically on how, in terms of guidance on how we can actually move forward, take the learnings from the past, but not forgetting that, you know, we owe it to all our consumers and our taxpayers that we deliver them something that we are promising them.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anilji.
Thank you.
Can we now move on to Mr. Dharma from KESCO? I'm sorry, Mr. Dharma, we kept you waiting for a long time, but we look forward to hearing from you and your views on the head-end systems and the challenges around it.
So he just stepped out for some time. So I request you to please continue.
Okay. Meanwhile, then we have some questions coming in. Rene, there's one question we've got for you. If you don't mind taking that while we're waiting for Mr. Dharma.
Sure.
This is regarding what are the specific security mechanisms being adopted by you in the Zonos systems to ensure the data vulnerability is taken care of?
Okay, it's a very technical question.
Yeah, I know. It's also pretty open-ended, but
First of all, again, so this is much more than just to adopt one protocol, because I think many of the things are already addressed in the IS 15959 standard, at least when it comes between to the meter communication to the head-end system. But we have also added something on top of that. Some of you might know that even in this DLMS standard, which is the basis for the IS 15959, there are different security levels you can approach. And the one which is currently in the market is the so-called Security Suite 0. We have actually implemented the Security Suite 1, and at the moment even thinking about the Security Suite 2, which is not available on the product side, on the meter side yet. So we are preparing already, but it's not there. And this one, you can, on top of that, again, implement in different ways. So one way is a software solution, and another way would be, for example, based on hardware security modules. That was this financial, this solution out of the financial area, what I have already described. So again, so you cannot always go to the full-fledged security. You have to choose what is good for your process. And we have just heard also from Mr. Anil recently, it should still be manageable and people should be able to operate it. I normally compare that with a house. So if you build a nice house and you want to live into it, it's not a good idea to close the wall with stones, just because you are afraid that somebody would get in. So you totally waste your money if you do that in the wrong way. So we are very careful what we are applying. It should be according to the rules and the highest standard somebody can afford in terms of money, but also in terms of operation and maintenance of the solution.
Thank you, Rene. We have another question. This is for Anil Kadam. How does the HES take care of issues of achieving the 99.x percentage of SLA? I actually got 99.9 in the question, and I was really afraid to say that here, but go on.
It's a function of many things. Of course, the architecture, what has been employed. You need a robust software, you need a robust computing mechanism, and you also need to have very efficient interfaces built. So it's a function of how well the head end is been built in terms of the protocol itself, what it is doing. Second is how well the data has been handled and how well the data has been stored and retrieved for further services. So it's a complex process, and even we have learned it the hard way. Okay, and as I told you, when the rubber hit the ground, we had done a lot of iterations, and we have reached where we have reached because of the experience. And thanks to all our customers who are very patient in giving us that learning as our platform evolved. So it's about platform and its experience of the platform. That's all.
If I can add on to what Anil said, actually, I mean, rightly, Anil, you actually said right, but then HES is not an island in its own. So, I mean, we are dependent on the TSP and CSP to provide the 99.9% of SLA achievement. That is also there. So, as in the essence, in essence, HES needs to be strengthened. It has to be well structured. It has to use its own data to reach this SLA levels. The connectivity between the cloud and the TSPs and the latency of this data should be there, and then only we can achieve this 99.9%.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I'm conscious now we are overrunning into the next session. So I would like to thank all the panelists and the audience and everybody else associated with this session today. It was really a pleasure to sharing my views and all, it was very nice to hear all the experiences and the practical ways we can go about improving the systems. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.